On a cold winter morning, Professor Hidesaburo Ueno found a special gift upon returning home, an Akita puppy, with golden fur and expressive eyes, who would soon become his inseparable companion. Ueno, who taught at the University of Tokyo, named the cub Hachiko. From the first moment, an uncheckable connection emerged between the two. Hachiko soon proved to be a loyal dog, following the teacher everywhere. At Ueno's house, Hachiko adapted quickly, becoming part of the teacher's daily routine. Every day in the morning, he accompanied his owner to the Shibuya train station, where the teacher took the train to work. It was a simple farewell, but full of affection. Ueno said goodbye with a pat on the head of Hachiko, who then returned home. In the afternoon at the same time, Hachiko was always back at the station, patiently awaiting Ueno's return. The days followed this routine, like a ritual of trust and devotion. Hachiko, with his loyalty, became a constant presence at Shibuya Station, where some people already recognized him. The professor, in turn, found in the dog a faithful and loving companion who, every day, renewed his confidence in the power of loyalty. For Ueno, life had never been so full of meaning as in the moments shared with Hachiko. This relationship, built on affection and trust, seemed to be eternal. But life held surprises that no one could predict. What was just a simple and welcoming routine would soon become the beginning of a story that moved all of Japan. On a day that seemed like any other, Hachiko accompanied Professor Ueno to Shibuya Station. It was a sunny morning, and the movement at the station was as usual. Ueno placed one last caress on the top of Hachiko's head, waved softly and got on the train for another day of work. Hachiko, faithful to his routine, returned home, where he would wait for his beloved owner to return. However, that day would be different from all others. While teaching at the University of Tokyo, Ueno suffered a massive stroke. Doctors were hurriedly called, but nothing could be done. Professor Ueno died before he even had the chance to be helped. The news spread quickly among colleagues and students, but Hachiko, in her innocence, knew nothing. That afternoon, he returned to Shibuya Station as usual, positioning himself in the same spot, his eyes fixed on the arriving train. Trains came and went, but Professor Ueno never showed up. Hachiko waited patiently, his loyalty unwavering. Even without understanding what had happened, the day grew dark, the station emptied, and Hachiko remained there, hoping that the familiar figure of his owner would appear when he got off the train. Unaware that his life had changed forever, Hachiko returned to the station the next day, and the day after that. Ueno's absence was not something he could understand. For him, his owner just hadn't come back that day, but maybe he would come back the next. Thus, Hachiko's journey began, a long and silent wait, marked by the purest demonstration of love and fidelity. As the days passed, Hachiko continued her daily routine. Every afternoon, at the same time, he would go to Shibuya Station and sit patiently in the place, where he always waited for Ueno's return. The teacher's absence seemed to matter little to Hachiko, for he believed that his master would return. The dog's silent hope, expressed in his attentive posture and in his gaze fixed on the crowd that came out of the trains, moved the passengers and workers of the station. Soon, the residents of Shibuya began to notice the faithful dog that every day waited for someone who never showed up. Merchants and station staff began to feed and care for him, impressed by Hachiko's devotion. Gradually, the story of the dog that waited tirelessly for its owner began to spread throughout the city. People were touched by his loyalty, and many made a point of stopping to see him and leave some food. Hachiko, without deviating from his mission, continued to go to the station day after day. Even when the seasons changed, snow, rain, or intense heat, nothing was able to keep him away from that place. The train stations were places of passage, where people came and went, but Hachiko remained faithful to its only purpose. His story began to circulate in the local newspapers, and his name was associated with the concept of unconditional loyalty. The faithful dog of Shibuya became increasingly known, and the simple act of waiting for Hachiko became a powerful example to all who knew his story. He did not give up, and his devotion immortalized the connection he had with Ueno. Years passed, and Hachiko continued to go to Shibuya Station every day, faithful to his routine of waiting. As time passed, his body began to feel the effects of age. He was no longer the young and agile Akita who ran alongside Ueno on the cool Tokyo mornings. His once shiny coat was now dull, and his movements became slower and heavier. Even so, Hachiko remained determined. Neither age nor pain could stop him from going to his usual spot, where he waited for Ueno to return. With each passing year, the dog became more of a familiar figure at Shibuya Station. He had become part of the scene, a constant presence that symbolized something much greater than just loyalty to an owner. The public who passed by the station could not ignore the faithful dog. The older ones, who had known Hachiko's story from the beginning, smiled when they saw him, admiring his persistence. Younger people, who heard about him from their parents or in the newspapers, saw him as an example of devotion and commitment. Hachiko waited for Ueno for almost 10 years. Throughout that time, he kept returning to the station, steadfast in his mission, until his health finally began to fail irreversibly. In March 1935, after a decade of tireless waiting, Hachiko was found dead in the place where he always waited for Ueno. He had passed away peacefully, still faithful to his routine, waiting for the friend he would never see again. Hachiko's death quickly made headlines in Japanese newspapers, shocking the entire country. His story, already known to many, now became a legend. Japan, touched by the unbreakable loyalty of a dog, stopped to reflect on the value of commitment and true friendship. What Hachiko represented went beyond the relationship between man and dog. He personified the kind of loyalty and love that transcends time and adversity. The end of his wait did not mark the end of his story, but rather the beginning of his legacy. Hachiko's loyalty had inspired an entire country, and his memory, after Hachiko's death, all of Japan was filled with a deep sense of respect and admiration for the dog's loyalty. To honor him, a statue was erected in his memory at Shibuya Station, in the exact place where he waited for Ueno for almost 10 years. The bronze statue soon became a popular meeting point, both for city residents and tourists who came to learn the story of the faithful dog. The figure of Hachiko has become a symbol not just of loyalty, but of unconditional love. His story went beyond the borders of Japan, winning hearts around the world. He inspired films, books, and countless tributes that perpetuated his memory. The statue in Shibuya has become an international landmark, representing the kind of rare and pure devotion that few beings, human or animal, demonstrate throughout their lives. Hachiko's story has been told from generation to generation, teaching lessons about commitment and true friendship. He was more than just a dog. Hachiko embodied the value of waiting, trust, and loyalty that remain intact, even in the face of absence and pain. For those who knew his story, he remains an example that, in a rapidly changing world, there are still gestures that transcend time and space. Hachiko's legacy lives on today, inspiring people of all ages. His dedication immortalized the name of a dog who never gave up hope, becoming a timeless icon of fidelity, forever remembered in the hearts of all those who seek proof of unconditional love and loyalty.